Okay. Okay, the video's working. Yay. Okay, this is going to be video 2. This is Big Lair here. I'm doing this for the folks that are Samantha's Patreons and the Discord people. Okay, I've got a bunch of topics here I want to talk about. The first thing I should probably mention is a near-death experience. I was pretty surprised to hear Samantha and Debbie talking about their near-death experience on the video. I actually had a near-death experience myself. I'm not quite sure what led up to the near-death experience. I mean, the actual root cause of it. There's part of the story I do not want to talk about, and I won't talk about it, but I somehow got involved with these people that maybe would be considered witches. Man, I was just a young guy at the time, about 20 years old, and so anyway, there may have been something there. Someone was upset with me or something. I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it's just, when something real traumatic happens, your brain kind of like shoves it way in back so you never think about it again. It might be that. Anyway, from all of that, I developed this real crazy thing in my neck here. My neck got all swelled up. My throat closed up, had a hard time breathing. My immune system was really compromised. And at the time, it wasn't so surprising to me because as a kid growing up, I had strep throat every year. Strep throat. Maybe some of you in different countries, you've never heard of strep throat. I know in Japan, no one even knows what strep throat is, and I've dealt with a lot of doctors here as friends and as students of mine. So in Japan, they have no idea what strep throat is. They have no idea what, what's that one thing? It's called the kissing disease. Shoot, I forgot that, but there's actually a medical name for that. Is that mononucleosis? Anyway, I can't remember, but I now realize, having traveled around the world and lived in a few different countries, that the illnesses and stuff we have in America are not common in the rest of the world. So strep throat, I believe, is the streptococcus. Is it a virus or bacteria? I can't remember. Anyway, it's nasty stuff. I would get it every year as a kid. And my doctor would always say, well, we should probably take your tonsils out, but they're quite important, so we don't want to. So maybe he was a pretty good doctor looking back on it, this old Norwegian guy. Anyway, fast forward to 20 years old. My dad wakes me up one morning. I was just out of the Navy, back at my dad's house. Throat's closed up, can't breathe, my neck's all swollen. He takes me into the walk-in clinic. So by now, you couldn't just go and see a doctor in America. You actually had to go to the walk-in clinic, So I saw a doctor there. She said, boy, we got to rush you over to emergency. So that Indian lady who was my doctor, she must have been pretty sharp. Rushed me over to emergency. She walked over with us and said, actually they wheelchaired me over, and she said, you're lucky, the guy who's on call for emergency, he's a ear, nose, and throat specialist, and was in the Peace Corps. He has a lot of experience. And I didn't really think much of that at the time. So they get me in there. He looks at me. They quickly move me to another room, and they put me in this chair that kind of looked like a dentist chair. You could sit down and they recline you back. And he said to me, when did you go to Africa? When did I go to Africa? I've never been to Africa. I was in the Navy, but I was only in Florida. He says, well, you've got this whatever. I cannot remember the name of the virus, but he says it's an Ebola type virus. And I remember Ebola because that was scary, scary stuff, back in the middle to late 80s. No, I've never been to Africa. Okay. And he says, well, we have to do emergency surgery on you. You've got this abscess between your jawbone and this, I think it's the carotid artery. Now, if I'm saying that incorrectly, and there's artery and a vein. I might have mixed them up, but anyway, near some passageway of a major passageway of blood, and my jawbone was this big abscess. So he says, there's no time, you have to operate immediately, there's no time for anesthesia. And as he's telling me this, the chair is reclining, and the nurse puts one of these big leather straps over my chest to hold me down, like you'd see in the old-time movies with Frankenstein. They like strap him down. That's what they did to me. That made me quite nervous. Anyway, and I said, what are you strapping me down for? And he says, well, we got to operate without anesthesia, and I'm not going to lie, it's going to be very painful. I didn't like the sound of that, so boom, they strapped my head in. They've got my arms strapped in 2 places. My legs are strapped in a couple places. And long story short, they stick this huge needle through my mouth into my neck, and they're trying to draw this poison out. Very barbaric, when you think about it. And it was really, really painful. And then all of a sudden, I felt like this pop, like this tremendous popping, like boom. And then I was in a different place. And it was kind of dark. It was like black all around me, but there was like a light shining down around me that made this huge area of light, like you'd see a spotlight in a theater. And I remember looking up, but there was no light, no light source, but there was light around me. And then I looked down, and I could see the operating room. And I remember thinking like, whoa, who is that? Sorry looking sucker down there. Oh, Jesus, that's me. And then I realized, oh my God, did I die? And it was like I was standing on this invisible floor, and I could see down at the doctor and the nurse, and my body was there, and they were doing whatever. And then I started to panic a little bit, because I realized, oh my God, I'm only 20 and I'm going to die? Jesus, I wasn't married, I didn't have kids, I was really good at art, painting and drawing and whatnot, but I had never really done anything so amazing. And I just said, no, like, Jesus, God, no, I'm not going. I'm not going wherever you want me to. I want to go back there because I haven't really done much. And then all of these people started coming close to this. I told you there was like this light coming down, and it created a circle on the floor, even though part of the floor was see-through. I know it's really weird. And all these people came, like filling up the edge of this circle, and some of them I could tell were deceased relatives. And then like, oh my God, they're coming to take me to heaven, And they stopped right at the edge. And I kept pleading, no, I don't want to go. Don't let me go. I've got, all this stuff to do, I'm sure, and, blah, blah, blah. And then, just as suddenly as I was put into this place, this holding area, whatever you want to call it, limbo, I was back in my body, and I remember opening up my eyes, and I could see the nurse, like right here. And I looked, and I couldn't see the doctor. And I looked down at my chest, and I had this huge pile of those ammonia capsules. I don't know if anyone knows what ammonia capsules are. It's that when you pass out, they crack one of these open, they put it underneath your nostrils, and it'll really make you wake up quickly. And I knew about these because I did powerlifting with my brother, and there was a crazy powerlifter we knew. He would bring these things with him, and before he squatted 800 pounds or whatever, he would break one open and, like get himself cranked up. And so I remember this powerlifter handed me one, and he said, hey, try this. And I held it away from my face about, 12 inches or 30 centimeters, right? And cracked it open. And even that far away, I really felt like, oh, Jesus. So I knew what this stuff could do. So I look down, I see this huge pile, and the nurse is waving one under my nose, and I can't even smell the thing. And finally, after I don't know how many seconds, I could just kind of feel it like enter my nostrils, and like, oh, Oh, I can smell something now, but it wasn't strong. And by then she realizes I have my eyes open, and she yells to the doctor, "Hey, this guy, his eyes are open. I think he's alive," whatnot. So that was that story. And I think I did see my medical file years ago. I met that same doctor years ago. I had my nose broken working in construction. He was the one who put it back in place for me. And he showed me my file. It said I had, I was something like the patient. Oh, I forget what he wrote exactly now, but basically I died at this time. And then later on, and you could see where he had scribbled as he jumped up from his desk when she said, "Hey, I'm alive." And then later he wrote down that my heart had stopped for like 2 minutes and 20 some seconds or something. So that was that. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with any kind of abilities. Now that I've been part of Samantha's Patreon channel and on Discord with all of you, I've only been there a few weeks, but man, it's been like a action-packed few weeks for me. It's really made me look back over my life and realize that, hey, all this stuff that I thought was me making things up or me just being a smart guy was actually spirit guides telling me stuff. And yeah, so I'm going to stop the video here. I think I'm probably around 10 minutes. I don't want to get close to that 15-minute mark. And I will do the next one. So thank you for listening.